My name is Michael, and I'm a 52-year-old father living in a quiet town in Ohio. For most of my life, I believed I knew what fear sounded like. I heard it when my wife was diagnosed with cancer. I heard it when I lost my job during the recession. I heard it in my own voice the night my father died. But nothing prepared me for the sound of my daughter whispering those 3 words through the phone at 2:07 in the morning. Dad. I'm scared. I sat straight up in bed. For a few seconds, I couldn't speak. My daughter, Emily, was 27 years old. She lived about 40 minutes away in a small apartment near downtown Columbus. She was independent, responsible, and stronger than most people twice her age. Emily wasn't the kind of person who called her father in the middle of the night. If she needed something, she'd usually text me. Dad, can you call me tomorrow? Dad, do you know a good mechanic? Dad, Mom's birthday is coming up. What should we get her? Normal things. Adult things. But that night, there was nothing normal about her voice. Emily, I said, trying to keep my voice calm, where are you? She didn't answer immediately. I could hear her breathing. Fast. Shallow. Then she whispered, I'm in my apartment. I locked the door. My heart started pounding. Why? What happened? I don't know. That answer frightened me more than anything else. I threw the blankets off and reached for my jeans. Are you hurt? No. Is someone inside? I don't think so. You don't think so? I heard something outside my door. I stopped. What did you hear? A knock. I looked at the clock. 2:09 a.m. Did you look through the peephole? Yes. What did you see? Nothing. I grabbed my jacket. Emily, listen to me. Do not open that door. Don't talk to anyone. Stay on the phone with me. Dad. Yes. I think someone is watching me. That sentence changed everything. I didn't know who was outside her apartment. I didn't know what they wanted. And I certainly didn't know that before sunrise, my entire understanding of my daughter's life was going to fall apart. Before I continue, if you enjoy emotional stories about family, difficult choices, secrets, and the moments that change people's lives, please subscribe to the channel. It really helps us continue creating these stories. And stay with me until the end, because what Emily discovered that night wasn't just about someone standing outside her door. It was about a secret she had been carrying alone. I drove through the empty streets as fast as I safely could. The roads were almost completely deserted. Every traffic light seemed to take forever. I kept Emily on speakerphone. Dad? I'm here. Are you coming? I'm on my way. Okay. Her voice cracked. Please hurry. I tightened my hands around the steering wheel. I will. A few minutes later, she said something that made my stomach drop. Dad, the person outside just knocked again. I looked at the road ahead. Did you call the police? No. Emily, call them now. I'm scared. I know. But you're not alone. Call them. She finally agreed. While she spoke to the dispatcher, I kept driving. Then suddenly, she went silent. Emily. Nothing. Emily. I could hear her breathing. Then, very quietly, Dad, someone just tried the door handle. My blood went cold. Get away from the door. I'm in my bedroom. Lock your bedroom door. I did. Good. Then I heard a sound through the phone. 3 slow knocks. Knock, knock, knock. Emily started crying. And then the line went dead. I nearly lost control of the car. I called her back immediately. No answer. Again. Nothing. I called the police myself and gave them her address. Then I drove. I don't remember much about those next 10 minutes. I remember the rain beginning to fall. I remember my headlights reflecting off the wet pavement. And I remember thinking about Emily as a little girl. She used to sleep with the hallway light on. Whenever there was a thunderstorm, she'd crawl into our bed. I'd tell her, "Nothing is going to hurt you. Dad's here." Now she was 27 years old. And I was driving through the night trying to keep the same promise. When I reached her apartment complex, I saw 2 police cars already parked outside. I jumped out of my car before it had completely stopped. An officer approached me. "Are you Michael Carter?" "Yes. I'm Officer Reynolds. Your daughter is inside. She's safe." My knees almost gave out. "Can I see her?" "She's being checked by another officer. Give us a minute." I stood outside that building in the rain, shaking. A few minutes later, Emily came running toward me. She was wearing sweatpants, a hoodie, and no shoes. The moment she saw me, she broke down. I wrapped my arms around her. She buried her face against my chest just like she had when she was a child. "Dad. I'm here. I'm sorry." "For what?" She pulled away. Her eyes were red. I didn't know who else to call. "You never have to apologize for calling me." She looked toward her apartment. Then she whispered, "Dad, I need to tell you something." "What?" "I've been getting messages." "What kind of messages?" She reached into her pocket and handed me her phone. There were several texts from an unknown number. The first one said, "You can't hide forever." The second, "I know where you live." The third was worse. "Your father won't always be able to save you." I looked at Emily. "Who is this?" "I don't know." "You have no idea?" She shook her head. Then Officer Reynolds walked over. "We found no one in the hallway," he said. "But we're checking the security footage." I nodded. Then he asked Emily, "Is there anyone you can think of who might have a reason to contact you like this?" Emily looked at me. And for the first time, I saw something in her eyes that wasn't fear. It was guilt. "Emily." She looked down. "There is someone." "Who?" "My old boss." I frowned. "Your boss?" "I quit my job 3 months ago." "I know that." "You don't know why?" I stared at her. "No. You told me you wanted a change. That wasn't the real reason." She took a deep breath. "My boss was doing something illegal." I didn't say anything. Emily continued. "I found documents." "What kind of documents?" "Financial records. Fake invoices. Payments to companies that didn't exist." I felt a chill run through me. "Did you tell anyone?" "Yes." "Who?" "A lawyer." She looked toward the apartment. And that's when everything started. We spent the rest of the night at my house. Emily sat at the kitchen table while I made coffee neither of us really wanted. For almost an hour, she told me everything. Her former employer was a large construction company. Emily had worked there as an office manager. At first, everything seemed normal. Then she noticed strange payments. Money was being transferred to small companies that didn't appear to have employees, offices, or actual projects. She started asking questions. Her boss told her to stop looking into it. She didn't. Instead, she copied some documents and gave them to an attorney. A few weeks later, she resigned. Then came the messages. At first, they were vague. "You should have stayed quiet." Then, "People who talk too much regret it." Then someone followed her car. Emily didn't tell me. "Why didn't you call me?" I asked. She looked ashamed. "Because I didn't want you involved. I'm your father." "Exactly." She started crying. "I was afraid they'd hurt you." I walked around the table and sat beside her. Emily, listen to me. You don't protect your family by carrying everything alone. She wiped her eyes. I thought I could handle it. I know you did. But I couldn't. I put my hand over hers. You don't have to anymore. The next morning, we contacted the attorney. He told us something that made the entire situation even more serious. Emily wasn't the only employee who had discovered the fraud. There had been another employee. A man named Daniel. He had reported the same company months earlier. Then he disappeared. Emily had never met him. But her attorney had. And he had left behind evidence. Evidence that could expose several powerful people. The attorney told us to preserve every message, every email, every photograph, and every document. So that's exactly what we did. For the next several days, Emily stayed with me. We barely slept. But something strange happened. The more we talked, the more I realized how much I had missed in my daughter's life. I knew where she worked. I knew her favorite restaurant. I knew she loved old movies. But I didn't know she had been afraid for months. I didn't know she had stopped sleeping properly. I didn't know she checked the parking lot before leaving work. I didn't know she had been pretending everything was fine every time she called me. One evening, she sat beside me on the porch. Dad? Yeah. Do you remember when you taught me how to ride a bike? I smiled. You fell about 20 times. I remember. You kept saying you couldn't do it. And you kept saying I could. She looked at me. Do you still believe that? I knew what she meant. Yes. She smiled faintly, even now. Especially now. That night, we thought the worst was behind us. We were wrong. At 11:36 p.m. someone slipped an envelope under my front door. There was no name on it. Inside was a photograph. It was a picture of Emily walking into my house. On the back, someone had written, "You should have stayed out of this." Emily stared at it. I looked at her. She whispered, "Dad." I said nothing. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. No one spoke. Then a man's voice finally said, "Your daughter has something that belongs to us." I asked, "Who are you?" The man laughed. "You'll find out soon enough." The call ended. I looked at Emily. And for the first time, I understood something. This wasn't just about protecting my daughter anymore. Someone had decided to threaten my family. And I wasn't going to sit quietly and wait for them to make their next move. The next morning, we gave everything to the authorities. The messages. The photograph. The documents. The phone number. The recording of the call. And then something unexpected happened. Investigators discovered that the anonymous messages were connected to a former employee of the construction company. His name was Mark. He wasn't the owner. He wasn't even a manager. But he had access to the financial system. And according to the investigators, he had been helping move money through fake companies. The evidence Emily had found was part of a much larger operation. Millions of dollars had disappeared. Several people were involved. And someone had been trying to destroy the evidence. Emily's documents were one of the last remaining pieces. But there was still one question. Why had they suddenly become so aggressive? The investigators discovered the answer in an email Emily had received months earlier. She hadn't noticed its importance. It was from Daniel, the employee who had disappeared. He had sent her a message before leaving the company. The email contained one sentence: "If anything happens to me, look at the property records." That sentence opened an entirely new investigation. The property records showed that the fake companies weren't just receiving money. They were purchasing buildings. Buildings connected to people inside the company. The entire operation was designed to hide millions of dollars. Emily's evidence could expose it. Weeks passed. There were interviews. More documents. More questions. And eventually, arrests were made. Not just Mark. Several executives were charged. The company collapsed under the weight of the investigation. But the biggest surprise came when Daniel was found. He wasn't dead. He had left town because he was terrified. He had been living with relatives under another name. When investigators contacted him, he agreed to cooperate. And his testimony filled in the missing pieces. One afternoon, Emily received a call from the investigator. "It's over," he said. She started crying. Not because she was sad. Because for the first time in months, she could breathe. That evening, we sat together at the kitchen table. Emily looked exhausted. But she was smiling. "I thought nobody would believe me," she said. I looked at her. "I believed you. Even before you knew everything. Always." She looked down at her hands. "I'm sorry I kept this from you." I shook my head. "You were scared. I should have trusted you. You were trying to protect me." She smiled. "That's what you always say. Because it's true." Then she stood up and hugged me. And I realized something. Sometimes being a parent isn't about having all the answers. Sometimes it's simply about being the person your child knows they can call at 2 a.m. Even when they're grown. Even when they're embarrassed. Even when they're afraid. You answer. You show up. And you stay. A few months later, things finally became quiet. Emily moved into a new apartment. She found a different job. She started sleeping normally again, and slowly, she began becoming the person she had been before all of this happened. One Saturday morning, I was sitting on my porch when my phone rang. It was Emily. I answered. "Hey, kiddo." "Dad?" "Yeah. Are you sitting down?" I laughed. "Should I be worried?" "No." There was a pause. Then she said, "I just wanted to tell you something." "What?" "I'm okay." I smiled. "I know." "No, Dad. I mean really okay." I looked out at the street. For months, I'd worried every time my phone rang. Every unknown number made my heart jump. Every late-night call frightened me, but that morning, her voice sounded different. It sounded peaceful. "You know," she said, "I used to think being strong meant handling everything by yourself. And now I think being strong means knowing when to ask for help." I smiled. "That's a pretty good lesson. I learned it from you." I shook my head. "No. You learned it the hard way." She laughed. Then she said something I'll never forget. "Dad, thank you for answering." I looked down at my phone. Anytime. Even at 2 a.m. Especially at 2 a.m. We both laughed.